Are you struggling getting started in this crazy world of sharing your message and engaging an audience online? Well, if you are, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Clarity Sessions. Hey, it's Brian Dixon, and you are listening to episode number 6 of the Clarity Sessions. And you are in for a treat today because I get to speak with Zeena Regis. You can learn more about Zeena at zeenaregis.com. And she's just getting started. She's a full-time chaplain right now, but she's looking at taking her message and going online. And so if you're struggling with getting started, you're going to love this episode. Let's take a listen.
How to start. I think how to start. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what you would love your online business, your blog, that sort of thing look like, let's say 3 years in the future. If everything works out, what does that look like for you?
You know what? It looks like a community to me. It looks like I would love to have a community of folks who share resources about end-of-life care, grief care in faith communities. Just, I would love to have lots of pieces, like the blog and maybe a podcast, but more than, but just like a web portal where people can connect and kind of give their best practices for how things have worked for them. And so like that. Yeah.
And are these professionals that are dealing with end-of-life care, or are these volunteers, or these family members, or who specifically would you see yourself serving in this network?
So I would see myself serving just community. It doesn't have to be professionals. Mm-hmm. So my thought is that I would love to have people who are, I work as a grief counselor and a hospice chaplain, and I find that people are like, my church doesn't really know how to support me now.
Yes.
Kind of where the space that I would love to feel is helping people, because it's a difficult time. It's an awkward time. People don't know how to connect, and helping give people resources to connect with one another when they're in times of grief and loss.
Right. Well, first of all, I need to say thank you for your heart of service. This is such an important topic, and people need support, especially during that phase of their life and dealing with it. I can imagine there's probably a lot of emotional issues that come up, and it's just it seems like it would be a really trying time. So to have a place of support would be really valuable for people.
Yeah, I think so. I think that people, and I think also there's just that awkwardness of people don't know what to do. They want to do something, but they're like, oh no, I gave her a casserole. Like, what do I do beyond that? And so
got it.
I would love to kind of build it out. Like in hospice care, we have all these benchmarks, don't just check in at a week after the death, check in 6 months after the death, because that's when everybody's kind of went back, and 4 months, and just helping people have benchmarks at those different times and seeing how it works for them in their life and in their, their community. I
love that. Do you have any a framework that you walk people through so that when you're speaking with somebody, let's say you meet somebody at church or in your community or whatever it is, and then somebody says, I'm trying to help my friend who's going through this tough time. Do you sort of think through the different phases or the different stages and can kind of identify where that particular person is?
That's a great question. I put together some infographics for tips.
Right.
But great idea to kind of build out a framework for that support. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple little exercises that you could walk through. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of share the three of them real quick. The first one is sort of the let's give the person a name first of all. So who's the person that you're serving here? Let's say she wants to help her friend. Her friend's mother just passed, and so she wants to kind of support her friend. So what's the person's name first of all?
Let's just say Anne.
Anne. Okay. Yeah. So I want you to write a narrative story of Anne from the point where, Anne heard that her friend's mom is sick all the way until maybe 2 years after her mom's passing. So just sort of just what's the story of how Anne in an ideal world, according to your expertise, helped out. And so sort of begin with the end in mind, right? Write out the whole kind of story. And what you'll notice by doing that, which leads to step 2, is you'll start to have these benchmarks along the way or you'll start to have these phases. So maybe what you realize is, so first you have, the first layer is the story. The second layer sort of underneath that is the framework, which are usually the milestones along that journey. And the nice thing about having a framework is you can hear somebody's story and go, you know what, I think they're on stage 3, and my job is to help them get to stage 4.
Okay.
And then the third exercise is to look at each of those milestones and just brainstorm a list of questions that people have to get from stage 3 to stage 4, questions they have to get from stage 4 to stage 5. So stage 1 might be they overheard that something's going on with a family member, but they don't know how to ask. They don't know how to initially engage. And so you would write out, what are all the questions that they have? Like, what should I do? Who should I, should I text? Should I call? What's the best way to bring up the topic? They probably have all these weird questions in that phase. Yeah. And if you do those 3 steps, first kind of what's the dream, what I'd call like the narrative arc, what's the whole story of Anne and the way she helped in an amazing way so her friend felt supported and was following best practices, which is what you do as a professional. And then the framework can actually serve as an infographic. It can serve as a lead magnet. It can be parts of your blog posts because these are the different steps. And then those questions can actually inspire articles because people Google their questions. So they're right. So they're going to search for, how do I help my friend who is da 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 da, right? And that's the question, and that's what you'd answer through your content.
Okay. Oh, that's so helpful.
I'm so glad. Yeah. I love your heart. And I think in terms of the long term, the best thing that you can do is create great content and get to know your audience.
Okay.
And as you do that, and as you keep speaking with your audience, you'll find an opportunity. And that's where the product. So we've talked about your audience. We've talked about your message, which your message is that framework. You can help your friend by doing these 10 things along the way.
Okay.
And then the product is really as a result of Anne coming to you, through comments on Facebook or through comments in your blog or even through responding to your emails and saying, but how do I? How do I do that? And that might be a membership site. It might be an online course. It might be, little talks at community events or at nonprofit organizations or a book. There's all sorts of ways that message can take shape. That's really how, you productize the message. Basically, you take the message and put it into a form that they can consume either through reading or through watching or through responding to questions. But you've got to really start with your people, start with your audience there.
Oh, that's so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that good? Any other questions that you have to kind of get started?
Yeah. I just really, I'm like, how can I get more of this coaching? This is so helpful. Yeah. But yeah, you really helped me think through this. So.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, you can check out my coaching. It's just briandixon.com/coaching.
Okay.
I've got my coaching package on there, but I just love the work that you're doing. I think that's so important. Obviously I can relate. I've had grandparents that have passed, and it can be awkward. It can be really challenging to figure out what's the best way to help out, and obviously friends as well. So I could see there being an incredible community of people where when they Google, because we Google our problems. So when they go to Google and they're asking, what should I bring, or whatever their basic question is, that there's something a lot deeper than that. And that's where you can really help them along the way.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been really, really helpful.
I'm so glad. Do you have any website or anything like that we can point people to at this point?
Yes, I do. I have a website. It's zeenaregis.com. So just ZEENA Regis, REGIS.com.
Well, there you have it. Wasn't that awesome? Zeena is incredible. Go ahead and give her some social love. Go to zeenaregis.com, follow her on Instagram, check her out on Facebook, subscribe to her newsletter, and remember, your message matters. It's time to make a difference today. Now, to get the transcript of this entire episode, you can just hop over to briandixon.com/clarity06. That's briandixon.com/clarity06. And if you want to learn more about my own personal coaching where I work with you one-on-one, you can hop on over to briandixon.com/coaching. So thanks so much for listening or watching this episode. You can even view a video version over at briandixon.com/clarity06. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave a rating and review. You can do it by going over to the iTunes store, clicking on podcasts, searching Clarity Sessions, and just leaving a little rating. It would be helpful. And a lot of people will discover the show as a result of your rating and review. So it would mean the world to me. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, your message matters. It's time to make a difference today.